The storm began before the search did. Sheets of rain fell across Glacier Valley, turning the mountain roads into dark ribbons of mud. The sheriff's SUV crawled forward through fog that moved like smoke, headlights barely touching the outlines of trees. It was June 14, 2009, the day 17-year-old Lila Archer disappeared during a weekend hike with her photography club. The group said she'd wandered off the trail for a better view of the ridgeline. They heard her camera shutter twice, then nothing. No scream, no sound of slipping rock. When they realized she was gone, the valley had already filled with mist thick enough to erase the horizon. Deputies combed the area for 3 days. They found her backpack near a stream, unzipped, contents scattered, lens caps, a half-eaten sandwich, a small tin of watercolor paints she'd carried everywhere since middle school. Her camera was missing. So were her hiking boots. The ground showed no footprints, just soil packed down by rain. It was as if she'd simply stepped out of the world. Sheriff Raymond Holt told reporters, "We've checked every trail, every drop-off, every cave. It's like she vanished into the mountain itself." The phrase became local legend, repeated by teenagers on camping trips, turned into internet ghost stories. But for the Archer family, it was a sentence that never stopped echoing. For 14 years, the case remained open in name only. Every anniversary brought another news segment. Missing teen, no new leads. Lila's mother, Diane, moved twice. First to the city for work, then to a quiet house near the coast where she could see the water and pretend it was peaceful. She never changed her phone number. "I don't want to miss the call," she told a reporter once, "if it ever comes." That call arrived on an ordinary Tuesday morning in June 2023. At 9:47 a.m., the county's emergency dispatch logged a GPS ping from a device registered to L. Archer 2009 CAM. The coordinates placed it deep inside Glacier Valley, in a region closed to hikers for years due to landslide risk. The signal wasn't continuous. It pulsed in short bursts, 3 seconds on, 2 seconds off, like someone pressing a button. Detective Victor Grayson took the call in his office, still learning the names in the file he'd inherited 3 months earlier. He'd grown up 2 valleys over. When he was 12, his cousin Emma had disappeared during a school field trip. Never found, case never solved. He'd become a detective because of that hole in his family's story, the questions that outlived the people who'd asked them. When the Lila Archer file landed on his desk, he saw Emma's name in every line. He drove to the coordinates alone, climbing through mist and mud for half a mile. The forest pressed close, branches scraping his jacket. His radio crackled with static that sounded almost rhythmic, like Morse code he couldn't quite decode. Near the ridge, he found a narrow gap in the rock face, barely wide enough to crawl through, leading into what looked like a collapsed mining tunnel from the valley's old quarry days. Inside, it smelled of rust and wet earth. When he turned his flashlight toward the ground, the beam struck metal. A camera, half buried in silt, its casing dented but intact. The logo matched Lila's missing equipment list. The power indicator blinked weakly. On, off, on, off. The forensic team recovered it that afternoon. The memory card was intact. They extracted 67 photographs. Most were ordinary: wildflowers, trail markers, her friends posing on rocks. But the last 5 were different. Image 63, the mouth of the tunnel, taken from inside. Daylight visible beyond. Image 64, a dark stone wall, out of focus, as if the camera had been dropped. Image 65, a hiking boot. Her boot, based on the pink laces her mother had mentioned, lying on its side near the tunnel wall. Image 66, a figure standing approximately 10 feet behind where the camera must have been positioned. The image was slightly blurred, but the figure wore dark clothing and appeared to be holding something cylindrical. A flashlight, possibly. Or a tool. Image 67. Complete darkness. But when the lab processed it under different light spectrums, faint scratches appeared on the camera's casing, etched in haste. Help. Grayson sat with those images for 3 hours, studying the metadata. The final photograph was time-stamped June 14, 2009, 6:23 p.m., roughly 5 hours after Lila's group reported her missing. The camera's internal clock confirmed it had been powered down shortly after and hadn't been activated again until 48 hours before Grayson found it. Someone had turned it on, recently. He drove to Diane Archer's house that evening to deliver the news in person. She stood in the doorway, hand gripping the frame, and listened without interrupting. When he finished, she asked a single question. Was she alone?